Hello everybody, my name's Chris Payton. I work as a genealogist here in Ayrshire in Scotland, and I'll be one of the speakers on the forthcoming fourth Unlock the Past genealogy cruise. This is actually my fourth trip out to Australia, but it's my second cruise with Unlock the Past because I did the previous cruise, or the second cruise, in 2011, which sailed from New Zealand to Australia. And we had a lot of fun on board that particular boat at the time. It was called the Volendam. I think we had something like 100 delegates who were signed up. And it was a great ship. It had great facilities, but it was a lifeboat compared to the thing we're about to go on. Have you seen the size of this thing? We're about to go on the Starship Enterprise of cruise liners, from what I can tell. And we've also got a heck of a lot more delegates on board for this one as well. I think we've got something like 250. Who'll be coming along for this. So it's going to be a packed agenda of talks. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of genealogy, lots of family history problems to break through. What I would say is that when you're coming along, pack the suntan lotion. I've got a cousin in Melbourne who keeps telling me about this thing called the sun. I personally have always considered the sun to be an urban myth, but if it truly does exist, I'm hoping to catch it and to bring it back, and that way my cousin doesn't need to keep sending me photographs from Melbourne telling me how blooming hot it is all the time. But as well as packing the suntan lotion, pack all the correct travel adapters. We're on an American boat in Australian waters. Who knows what's going to happen? I'm packing universal adapters just to cover myself. But above all else, bring your genealogy problems with you, bring your notes with you. We're there as genealogists who do this for a living in various capacities. So we're also there not just to give talks, but we're there to be used and abused in family history terms. You know, I mean, do tap us for help in terms of problems you might have, or brick walls that you've been unable to overcome for years or whatever. If you don't know where your Irish granny came from, come and have a word, you know. I mean, the talks I'll be doing, I should say a wee bit about those. I'll be doing predominantly covering Scottish and Irish topics, but some British as well. I'll be looking at things like online records for Irish research. There's a heck of a lot constantly happening on that front, so I may well be updating that talk before I even give it minutes in advance, you know. I'll be looking at Irish land records, Scottish land records and inheritance. I'll be looking at the Church of Scotland and the various records of the parish churches. A lot of people think that everything's online with Scotland's people, and it is not by a long shot when it comes to church records. I'll be looking at things like Scottish marriage, which is just different in Scotland to how the rest of the UK handled it. But I'll also be looking at things like, I'll be doing a wee talk, for example, about the courses that I teach through Pharos, Teaching and Tutoring Limited. I'll talk about what happened when the First World War broke out, and there were all these British civilians and citizens from the Empire who lived in France and Belgium and Germany. What was their story? We often hear about what happened on the soldiers and on the military front, but what about the civilian side of that? Well, I've got a very personal connection to that, so I'll do a talk on that. And there's just going to be a lot to get on with. It's going to be good fun. It's going to be great crack, as they say, from the neck of the woods in Ireland that I come from originally. In addition to the talks on board the boat, myself and Thomas McEntee and a few other speakers such as Rosemary Kopitka will actually be doing talks at venues across Australia before, during and after the cruise. So we'll be kicking off in Brisbane, then doing a talk in Canberra, and then on the boat itself, when we do various shore stops, well, delegates on the boat go off and do sort of touristy things, or go off to archives or whatever. We'll go off and do talks for local societies as well. So we'll be speaking in Melbourne, Adelaide and Hobart. We'll also be, at the end of the whole thing, after the cruise is finished, we'll be doing a talk in Sydney, and then we end the whole thing in Perth. So we've got a fairly packed itinerary for a couple of weeks, but the cruise is the focus of the whole thing. And all I'll say is just come along, be prepared to share your stories, ask us for any help that you need while you're there, and let's have a good laugh, and let's take some good photos home to show the families. Okay, I'll see you soon. Thanks a lot.